Hey guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to kill raiders and escape from Tarkov. With raiders being the hardest AI to kill in the game, it's reasonable to ask, how does a solo player grind raiders for their exceptional loot? Well, to begin with, you're going to need armor, preferably an armor that can stop a few armor penetrating rounds. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Zabralo, but this is what I have on hand. Definitely make sure that it's a lot higher durability than 42.5 because this will not stop most rounds. It's just an example. The next thing we will talk about is the helmet. I'm using a Kiver because it's a relatively low investment. It doesn't cost much to obtain. The ricochet chance is medium, which is okay. And then the face shield, I believe, is a high ricochet chance. This can turn a potentially lethal round into nothing. Now we will talk about our rig and backpack. I do not typically bring backpacks because you find them off of dead raiders. The rig you use, just make sure it can hold all your ammo and all your magazines. Now, speaking of ammo, the gun I am using is a Ash 12. This is a rather unconventional choice, however I do enjoy the ammo type for its damage and penetration. That and Labs PvP/combat is relatively CQC, so recoil isn't that big of a problem. Whenever you use an Ash 12, do make sure you bring multiple mags, because 20 rounds is not enough to kill all raiders unless you're just insane. I like to bring at least 4 mags and then a stack of extra ammo to repack. Make sure that you do bring your medication. I like to use a Salua and a morphine, and then I'll have a golden star and CMS at my alpha. So this is my basic gear set for labs. But the next thing we'll talk about is actually getting in the labs. You need a labs keycard to enter. From the flea market, this costs about 200k. From higher level therapist, you can get it for about 150k. Otherwise, the only way to obtain it is by killing scavs and finding inside their backpacks. Now that we have our basic gear set and method of entry, we will go to the actual combat. Once you load into your raid, I recommend you fight the raiders in the basement. This is because in the basement there is a room that has a door on 2 sides, and the raiders spawn on the outside of those doors. Whenever a raider opens up a door, he has about 2 or 3 seconds where they won't shoot you, they'll just look at you. And I feel like I have more control in this area. I feel like I'm better at PvP here. You don't necessarily have to use the basement, but this is what my example will be. So once you arrive, you're going to walk to your left and open up this door. You need to check the top for players because there's a spawn relatively close. And then you're going to press a button on that wall. That spawns the first wave of raiders, and you're going to run down to the room at the end of this hall. If you're too slow, raiders will just end up spawning in that room or in that hallway with you. And there's no real cover in the hallway, so obviously you're going to die. Now I recommend that you close these doors. You heard that breach down at the end of the hall where I came from. That is a good indicator as to where your enemy is. That means that I need to watch that front door more than I do the back door. I like to lay prone right there because it helps me kill the raiders. The only time I really need to worry about it is whenever I miss my shots or they throw an actual grenade. In this case, he threw a Zarya, which I don't exactly know why. That was his first instinct rather than shooting, but it's not that big of a deal because he's dead. Now, after you kill those raiders, you are going to make sure that there are no more raiders in the immediate area. As you can see, only 2 spawned, which is actually not that many. Once you do this, you are going to check for the third party and re-close the doors in this hallway. The reason why I close these doors is because if I hear the raiders breach them, I know what doors they're coming from. Sometimes they do come from both sides though. Do be wary of that. If you hear movement on metal, a lot of the time that means they're coming from the back door. They're on the stairwell on the front. Now we're going to open up this great door and press this button. This now spawns our second wave of raiders. And And something you'll notice here is this raider kind of just walks through the door and throws a grenade. This is not common. I don't understand exactly why that happened, but you don't necessarily need to be worried about that, I don't think. Do be careful about grenades, because a lot of the time they do just throw nades immediately for some reason. It doesn't make sense, but oh well. It's AI. Now, a mistake I made is immediately pushing over there without watching the other door. So now I'm pinned on the outside. This is a bad situation to be in, and you should definitely avoid this. It is a lot easier to pull this off if you have two friends, one to watch both doors. Now in this case I'm going to flank around to kill the raiders that shot me in the back. One thing you do need to know is you cannot peek raiders for an extended period of time. If you peek them for too long, they will lock on, and they'll lock on your vitals. Typically in the end, that kills you. That's why I'm tapping the lean button and tapping him in the chest over and over again. Preferably, you do not want to be peeking raiders, you want to hold angles on them. However, in some cases it's necessary that you do peek them, and it's best just to minimize your exposure whenever you're doing it. Something that is very important is cursor placement. As you can see there, I had my reticle right about head height, and that immediately puts the raider out. And in that case I just panicked. I don't have an excuse for that. That's just my fault. It's normal for people to panic. Try not to. It can really mess you up. Now, once you've killed all your raiders, do check for a third party, make sure no players come to kill you, and then get to looting. Or in my case, I'm just going to celebrate, because why not? I didn't realize you can trigger finger an SR-25 until then, by the way. Now you're going to run into the hallway and to your left, and you're going to press the elevator button. And close these doors in this hallway. I prefer to sit in this dark corner because it provides a little more cover than just standing in the middle of the hallway. And once the elevator arrives, you're going to press the button again, and there you have it. You killed raiders.